I first want to get a quick, introduction. What you do at Riot, why you do it, because it seems like you love your job.
I do love my job. But does my job love me? Yeah, so I am the narrative lead for skins and thematic development here at Riot. I also work on basically all of our game products. So R&D, Valorant. If you play Yoru, I was one of the writers for Yoru, and I directed his voiceover. Okay. I do a lot of crossover work with LOR, work on Champs, work on TFT, I work on Wild Rift. So I'm kind of all over the board right now. But yeah, I for the most part, I do all of our legendary events and work on our skins multiverse.
Very cool. Like it. And I gotta ask, how much fun did you have creating Viego?
Dude, Viego was fun. Viego was great. I talked a little bit about this in the Champion Insights interview, but Viego was an opportunity not just to make a champion, but also an entire region that he came from, because we didn't have anything. And when we were talking about that, we're like, oh, where do we put the region? And I think Mary was the one, Mary Gumport, who's the champ lead, was like, what about the other continent that we haven't done anything with yet? Do you want to put something over there? And I was like, right, yes. Mary. I ended up getting to I got to make Camivore and its capital Alovidra and talk about the whole continent as it existed back then, and we filled it in with a lot of really cool stuff. So that was really, really exciting. And then Viego was just me as a high school junior dating. So that was a fun one too.
Yeah, that's right. What is this core aspect behind a guy who is this champion of his own story, but really a deep villain to everyone, but he's amazing. He thinks he's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It's well, love you forever in another life. That's the whole thing.
He seems to express it well. Will Viego get up? This comes from Blackheart. Will Viego get updated voice lines with the new champs that get revealed?
So I wish this was the case, and actually we did have options for this. The problem is if I put when we send out the audio files in a patch, it comes out in a sound bank. And that's all of the lines, including the ones that have been turned off. So the problem was we were leaking champions every time that we did that. That's what happened with Yone for the Spirit Blossom event, is we leaked Yone, and that was we don't want to do that again. So now we're not going to
data mine stuff.
Yeah. It turns out people can data mine the game, and we don't want to do that. So unfortunately, there will be no Viego updates for at least for the foreseeable future. I assume that they will at some point.
Cool. The voice is on hold for now. This is from Shriek Cansetta. I hope I said that right. What is the relationship between Viego and Kalista before he went mad with grief?
Sure.
Were they close growing up?
Yeah. So like a lot of children of royalty at the time, Viego, as is stated in the story, Viego is not the prince who's supposed to be king. His older brother is supposed to be king. Okay. So he is kind of left in this sort of academic place where his father does not pay a lot of attention to him. The court doesn't pay a lot of attention to him. He's not really the star of the show. He's just doing these two. He's with a lot of tutors and learning swordsmanship and stuff. Okay.
But
and Kalista in that way is kind of they're around the same age.
Yeah.
So they're friends for a long time. But unfortunately, after Viego takes the throne and as his kind of bad personality traits start to take over, Kalista and him begin to butt heads. She's very loyal to him for a long time, even though his kind of paranoia and selfishness start to take over. Yeah. Up until the very end where she, inevitably turns against him and unfortunately is vengeanced. Right in that back is just revenged.
Just rending out everything.
Just stabbed right in the spine with a spear. Sorry, Kalista. Cool. You were cool. You were cool, Kalista. I'm sorry.
That's cool. All right, that's pretty awesome. Back and forth for them.
Yeah.
Angular. All right, we're back to Chris 211. Lore question: how does Viego's power relate to Mordekaiser's? Who's the real deal of necromancy?
It doesn't relate to Mordekaiser. So here's the thing about Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser is using a specific kind of death realm magic
Okay.
To create essentially like a pocket dimension, which he considers like his warrior heaven, right? Like it's a pocket dimension where like the strong survive and they're all dead and they all serve him.
Yeah.
Viego's magic is something he doesn't even fully understand. It is intricately tied to the original magic of Helia and the Blessed Isles, and it's something that rips the life out of stuff. So while Mordekaiser has death magic that can like suck your soul out, turn you into like a skeleton warrior forever, the Viego's magic is more tied to the black mist, which is like a parasitic energy that contains wraiths within it. So they're very, very different, and this is a question that I got a lot since they don't have an interaction because they don't know each other. They don't know.
Right. Prime Gaming Dominator 10. Damn.
That's a great name.
Viego, Viego question.
I feel like I've been Gaming dominated.
Oh, this actually leads in. How does the mist / Ruination interact with Mordekaiser's command of the dead? So I guess
right. So this is actually a great question.
Okay. Hit it.
Because like Viego controls the mist and the wraiths within it, but Mordekaiser controls the dead who have been touched by his own magic. So if you were to like make them like, Mordekaiser's still preparing for his eventual return. And if the two of them were to like slam into each other, who would win? I'm actually, though I wrote Viego, I'm actually on the side that like Mordekaiser would probably like pub stomp Viego.
Just one
mace. Like, if you're looking at like, if Mordekaiser's like, I'm going to return, I don't think you would pick Viego's invasion of Valoran to return. That's not smart for him.
Yeah.
Because like then you've got like a force of evil wraiths to hit. It's like the heroes are fighting you. It's not the perfect time. Why not wait till after Valoran is ravaged by an invasion? I don't know. Seems like a good idea to me. But what do I know? I don't know anything.
Take it when nobody wants it. That's what.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're making your own army, you can make whatever you want. Why did Viego sleep for 1,000 years or more? If he really loved his wife, he would have went and looked for her since the Ruination started. Is this retaliation with a certain event? Zoe Bard ? Or is he just a lazy king? Or lazy?
So he was actually he was technically dead. He's in a kind of a liminal space. At the moment that he was killed by Isolde, that sword was stabbed through his heart and he died. So he doesn't even remember in kind of the way that like car crash victims don't remember like the few minutes prior to the accident. Mm-hmm. He doesn't remember exactly what happened. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't know deep down kind of what happened, but he doesn't remember the exact events. So while he was in this is kind of like this real true death, he doesn't know anything that happened. His country fell, 1,000 years passed, all this time passed, and Isolde, she is not what she once was anymore. He doesn't even know where she is. So he doesn't. I assume that if he could have waken up sooner, he would have, but he just didn't.
Right. Possum 22, Possum Man. Jared, question for Jared. I can read. Will we ever see what does Viego's home continent look like?
Yes, you will. That's a pretty easy one.
Boom.
Yeah, you 100% will.
Looking at Aquarella. Viego question. How does he hold that huge sword with his noodle arm? Is it spectral, lightweight version of the actual sword, or is Viego just way stronger than he looks?
He's a wraith, man. Viego's a wraith now. And wraiths, in addition to having like the bad parts of their personality, like pushed to like dangerous extremes, are very strong. I mean, the particular type of magic that is animating him and is driving him is extraordinarily powerful. So he is no longer the Prince Valiant, like Lion Witch in the Wardrobe looking dude that he was when he was alive. Now he is a power ghost.
Sharik and Seta. I hope I'm saying these names right. Did the Blade of the Rune King have any magical / special properties before the start of the Ruination, or became a magical weapon when Viego turned into a wraith?
It did, actually. So in Camivore, this is a sword that's passed down along the patrilineal monarchy. So every king owns this sword. When you are crowned king, the sword necessarily takes a piece of your soul, so that if you were wounded in battle, you can be restored. So when the sword is plunged through his heart, the magic of the waters, which also brings life to the dying, and the sword itself were like clashing against each other at the same time. Like Viego's heart was pierced by the blade, so he cannot be restored to life. So the magic, this is like a feedback loop that eventually explodes, and that's what causes the ruination.
What is that? We already know a bit about Viego's past, but what about the ancient curse on the blade of his? Where does it come from? I think we just found out.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not really a curse. It's just that it's. I mean, I will say that the blade of the Ruined King in the store is the physical blade. That is the remains of the physical blade.
Okay.
And then the one that he's holding is the blade as it exists to him, as the Ruined King. But it's not really a curse. It's just like it's been hit with the same magic that everything else has.
Yeah. That's why everybody was tweeting and they're messaging. So if he's in the game, can you still get the blade?
You can.
Is it purchasable?
It's a different thing. They're different things.
Yep. Yukio Taco N. That's how I'm going to say that. Are gods powerless against Viego at Riot Games?
So when we're looking at the range of gods, you have to start from kind of like the aspects, and then like there's like the demigods, and then there's the celestial gods. And then there's stuff like Aurelian Soul, who just like blows up planets and like is cool. So as far as like immediately right now, I think that Viego is growing his power base, but as he begins to make his moves, I think we're going to see his power level increase, and then I don't know what could happen. Actually, I do know what could happen, but I'm not going to tell you.
Somebody asked that's so great. Somebody asked a good question here. What will Yorick do? Says Izzy. I mean, he controls some dead too, but is there like ghouls?
Yes. I mean, Yorick is intimately tied to the story of the Ruined King, and I think it would have been a big oversight for me to not think about how that story is going to end.
Ahama 19. If a void creature will be consumed by the mist, who will serve the most? Who will it serve the most?
So I love the void, obviously. I wrote the void story in Realms of Runeterra. And the interesting thing about the void as it currently exists is that it is kind of like a magical eraser. They consume magic, and then that changes their forms the longer they are in reality and the more magic they're consuming. So if you threw a void entity into this mist, like, okay, immediately, like, it's going to consume a bunch of wraiths. It's just going to consume a bunch of mist and a bunch of wraiths and suck in all of that magic. However, as time goes on and void creatures consume more from the world of existence, they kind of like seize into being, and they begin appearing more and more like something that would exist in the world, which also makes them vulnerable. So ironically enough, if a void creature, like a single void creature, consumed enough mist, consumed enough wraiths, the remaining wraiths and mist could kill it.
Wow. That's actually pretty sweet. How long, honestly, like when you come up with this, you kind of set a base for the mist, set a base for these, and that's their interaction, or is the interaction evolve as you continue to write?
Well, I mean, like, so this is kind of like the basis of foundation writing. If you're looking at like, okay, well, we have Viego, here's how his powers work, here's how the black mist has always worked, right? So we knew how the harrowing worked, we knew there were wraiths inside of it and how they traveled and how all of the Shadow Isles champions travel within it. Right. Okay, now Viego's the center of that mist. It's where it comes from in terms of him. Then you have the void. We know how the void works. They do not have a physical form until they come into the world, at which point they're like a geometric mathematical assemblage. And once they taste existence, they kind of seize into the world. And as they experience more and consume more, they like harden into a shape, which makes them vulnerable. So when you throw the void into the mist, you can kind of figure out that interaction based on what we've said in the lore previously.
Interesting. That's cool. Yeah, because you don't want to write a bunch of stuff and then figure out the deepest part of your story actually doesn't work.
Yeah, you don't want to write yourself into a hole. With a lot of this stuff, I'm always like, I spend a lot of time doing foundation writing just to make sure that I don't mess it up.
Like lighting a lighter during a gas leak in a space station. Who would know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And actually, Possum Man, we asked a few. That's just is Thresh loyal to Viego? You can answer that while I'm going through to get these last two.
Is Thresh loyal to Viego?
Yes,
I
sir.
think that is a question that you will have to see later.
Woo-hoo, so we don't even get an answer anyways.
Lars,
what was that?
Is Thresh loyal to anybody in the end?
Oh, there you go. There you go. Anything in his lantern. Lars Good Eyes. Why has Viego no actual shirt? Was it destroyed when he got stabbed by the sword? Yeah, where's his shirt, man? Did it rip open? Where is his
shirt? I mean, when you're looking at Viego, who was in his early 20s when he died, he didn't look like the way that he looks.
Who wears
now.
a shirt in the early 20s?
Yeah, who's wearing a shirt in the early 20s? I know I didn't. So I think that when he comes back, when he manifests back into the world, he comes back in the way that he always viewed himself. At this moment of extreme selfishness and extreme obsession, right? If he's the hero of this old story and he's the hero of the world story, he's gonna come back as like this shirtless, handsome guy who's like saving his wife from death.
Eclipse Bat says, is Shaco from Viego's kingdom a puppet gifted to a young prince? A poisonous dagger killed Isolde.
Oh man, so like most headcanon, this goes one step a little too far. It was not Shaco who killed Isolde, at least to my knowledge. If they change that later, then there's nothing I can do about that. However, we look at Shaco and it's like, is he a demon? Probably not. Is he from the Shadow Isles? Possibly. Like, we don't really 100% know what Shaco's backstory is, because Shaco needs like a lore refresh really badly. And we've said this publicly before, but currently, as I believe the story is left him, Shaco is from the Blessed Isles. But I don't super know more than that, because so much about his backstory has been in flight for so long.
Right on. Eclipse Bat, thank you so much for the question. That was sweet. And Jared Rosen, once again, thank you so much, narrative lead. Viego and Skins, you said?
Skins.
And Skins.
And
give this man some skin if you ever see him. Wait for the pandemic to be over, though. Jared, thank you so much. Everybody in the chat, I know they thank you for, once again, coming onto the show and giving us a bunch of your time to just throw questions at you and have you answer.
And
Thanks
thank
again,
you,
man.
chat.